Hey, this is Patrick. I'm with Trident Beverage. Trident Beverage is the nation's leading provider of frozen drink programs to public schools and other food service establishments. We're a part of Renoco Beverage Solutions, and we have a wide variety of coffee, tea, lemonade, and other dispensed beverage options to offer you. Contact us today to get in touch with a local representative to see how we can better improve your beverage options. So today we're going to go over our new space machine. This is our new imported unit and it has performed very well so far in the field. The machine uses the new R290 refrigerant and has a smaller footprint and is lighter weight compared to other units that we've worked with in the past. So let's get into it. So on this machine, as with any of the other countertop frozen drink units that we offer, you really need to have a dedicated circuit if possible. It means 120 volts with nothing else on that circuit, or at least nothing else substantial. Then also the machine needs proper ventilation, so it needs 6 inches on each side to allow for proper airflow to get through and cool the machine. Additionally, it's designed to operate in ambient temperatures, so that means 70 to 85 degrees is really the best, but if it gets above 85 degrees, it could still work. It's just going to potentially increase the freezing time. If you need to use the machine outside, just make sure that it's in shade or as cool of an environment as possible. Let's go over how the switches on this machine operate. So in the front, we've got a big orange button, and this is the main power switch. Main power switch has to be on for the machine to operate. So if we turn that, you can hear the machine come on. Now on the side, we've got 2 orange buttons that control the auger. The augers have to be on for the machine to freeze or to cool, so you definitely want to make sure that these are on or it's not going to work properly. The left button controls the right auger, the right button controls the left auger. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but it's the way that the machine is designed, so you can figure it out just by hitting the button and seeing which auger comes on. So looking back at the front panel, we've got a button at the bottom that has a snowflake and a raindrop on it. And so what that indicates is whether or not you're going to be in freeze mode, which is where the snowflake is, or cold drink mode, which is the raindrop. And so if you've got it on freeze, which is the snowflake, that's going to freeze the product, obviously. If you change it to raindrop, that's going to be cold drink. It's going to be above 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, but you can actually set the temperature of the cold drink mode by toggling between A and B. And so let's look at that real quick. If we hit A, it shows us 3. If we hit A again, it shows us 5, 7, 9, 11, and then back to 3. And so we really want it to be on 3 when it's in cold drink mode. 3 degrees Celsius is what that is telling you. 3 degrees Celsius equates to about 37 degrees Fahrenheit. That's below the food safe temperature of 40 degrees, and that's really what we always want to keep it on when it's in cold drink mode. You also want to put it on cold drink mode when you are done with the machine at the end of the day and you're leaving at night, and that will allow the machine to defrost and get rid of any ice buildup that may be on the side of the machine. When we're on freeze mode here, you can see that there's a countdown, and started at 300 and it's going down, it'll go down to 0, and when it gets to 0 the compressor will kick on, and what you'll see here is you'll see A and then a number, and B and then a number, and that number is the temperature of the product in Celsius. So water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, so you should see the product start to freeze when it gets at or below 0. And that's a good way to keep tabs when it's in cold drink mode as well, in terms of what temperature the product is when it's in the bowl. So in terms of cleaning the machine, we recommend once per week if you're not using a dairy product, and then if you are using any type of dairy in the machine, it needs to be cleaned daily. So when you get ready to clean the machine, You can pour some water through it and drain that out, just to kind of get rid of any excess syrup that you may have in there. Any product that you have, you can set that aside and use it as long as it's still good. But once the machine is mostly empty and you start to disassemble it, first thing we're going to do is look at the lid. And so this lid comes off. You do not want to submerge this lid in water at all. Just wipe it down with a soapy rag and dry it off and set it aside. This machine has light wires for the back, and they're just plug and play. Just be aware that they're there, and you can see where they plug into the top of the lid and then also into the back of the machine. So on this machine, that's kind of one unique feature is this spout that's on the front, and it's a rubber spout, and what it does is it allows you to dispense product in a liquid form without it splattering and going everywhere. So this doesn't have to be used, but you're going to want to take that apart and set it aside as well. So we're going to take apart the handle, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the pin. We're going to pull the handle out. The plunger comes out the bottom, and then the spring comes out as well. So all these parts you're just going to set aside, and then now we're going to take the bowl off. And so the bowl has these feet that lock into the front of the base of the machine here, and so we're going to take one hand and put it on the back of the machine and the other here, and just kind of push and lift up. And then once you do that, the bowl slides off. And this is similar to pretty much every other countertop frozen drink machine that's on the market now. So we're going to set that aside. You've got two augers. You've got an outer auger and you've got an inner auger. The inner auger is magnetic, so when you go to pull it out, it might feel like it's stuck, but it's just the magnet. Just pull it on out. And so we've got all of our parts here, and then we've also got this rear seal that we want to pull off. Okay, so all these parts, just wash them with soap and warm water. Do not put them through the dishwasher. It will damage the machine, and the parts will have to be replaced. So, and then also here, we want to just take a soapy rag and warm water and just clean this area as best we can, and then wipe it down so that it's sanitized. When we go to reassemble the machine, we're going to take our seal. The flat part is the back, and we're going to slide it all the way to the back, get the bottom on first, and then just work it around to the top. You want to make sure that that rear seal is on there properly. If it's not, and you got to pour product in the machine, it's not going to be sealed. The product's going to come out, and nobody wants to deal with that. Next, we're going to put our inner auger back in. Now, this is magnetic, as I said, so it's going to kind of snap back. Don't let your finger get caught in there. It's not, not going to hurt you too bad, but just make sure that your hands are out of the way. So your inner auger is in, your outer auger goes on like this, and you can see how that part fits here on the inner auger, just as so. And now we're going to put our bowl back on. At this point, we've cleaned it. It's ready to go. So one thing actually about this bowl that's worth mentioning is we get a lot of service calls for the bowl and the machine leaking from the back. And what people will do a lot of times is they'll put lubricant all over the seal in the back. And what you really want to do is just lightly lubricate the back of the bowl. You don't want to use too much lubricant, because what will happen is it'll make this seal really slippery and it'll make it want to slip off. And you really don't even need to use much lubricant, if any at all. The whole point of that is to make the bowl slide onto the seal. So we're going to push it on and lock it in. Now, this is very important part, especially with this machine. It's probably the number one thing with this machine that you have to focus on, is making sure that this bowl is locked into place. So and I'll show you this here. These feet here have little dog ears that they have to lock onto on the base, and you have to make absolutely sure that those feet are locked into the base. If they're not, what happens is the machine will start to freeze, and then it'll actually cause the bowl to come off and product to go everywhere. So when you put the bowl back on, make sure, look at the feet and make sure that they're locked into place. The other thing here is with this, the tap assembly, we want to take some of our food service grade lubricant here and just lubricate around the O-rings. When you're doing that, just inspect the O-rings, make sure that they've got no chips or cracks or anything like that. The open part is facing outward, and actually you want to make sure your spring is on, and you're going to push it in just like that. Okay. Sometimes it should stay for the most part, unless you've got too much, a lot of lubricant on there, not necessarily too much. But if it stays, that's great. And then your handle is going to slide in just like that to the open part, and you just push your pin through the handle holes, and it's reassembled. And you're going to put your light back on, plug in your wire. You're ready to go. So the drip trays on this machine catch any condensation or product that may be dripping from the spout, and the condensation drains through this rubber tube here that's at the base of the machine. The rubber tube goes in this circular hole in the back, and then these tabs lock onto the machine here. So you want to empty this 2 or 3 times a day. It's self-contained, so if you don't empty it, it's going to overflow. And when you put it back on, just stick the hole, or stick the rubber tube through the hole and snap it in. So on the side of the machine is our refrigeration coils, and we really want to make sure to clean those if possible at least once a quarter, or whenever they get really dusty. If the coils get really dusty, it'll cause the machine to get clogged up and not get proper airflow. You do have to take these screws out, and you can clean it with a brush or a vacuum, or you can contact us and we can walk you through the process. But just be aware that the coils need to be cleaned whenever they get really dusty. One thing to keep in mind when you're starting fresh with new product is the initial temperature of the product that you put in the machine matters in terms of how fast it's going to freeze. The colder it is when you put it in, the faster it's going to freeze. And one thing we've seen with this particular machine is that the product cannot get below the metal part, the freezing cylinder, or it'll start to thump. So you want to make sure that the product is always, you're keeping it full above the metal cylinder, and the red line on this machine indicates where that is. So for this machine, and really any frozen drink machine, to operate properly, you have to have a product that has at least 13% sugar content for it to work. So if you put water in the machine, it will not work, it will not freeze properly. And our product, our Juice Alive, our Lazy Bay, our Polar Wave brands are all designed to be served through frozen drink dispensers. Juice Alive is 100% fruit juice. The sugars are naturally occurring sugars, and works great in the machine. So contact us and let us help you with your products for your frozen drink dispensers. Thank you for your time.